Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Matters of Faith, the radio show. Matters of Faith is a show designed to bring issues to you, the listening audience, that will challenge, encourage, motivate, and inspire you to keep the faith. I am your host, the Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell, and it's my job to engage you in stimulating dialogue that's inspiring, encouraging, motivating, dialogue and conversations that will help you build your determination, your commitment, and your character. Conversations that will help you keep the faith. Everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. 5 and 4. And now, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, without further ado, it is time for Matters of Faith, the radio show. Good evening, everyone. It's Monday, November 13th. It's 8 o'clock, and it's time for Matters of Faith, the radio show. I am your host, the Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell, and I'm also your producer. And we're talking about the article and the topic in the still moments. We are on live Matters of Faith, as well as the J. Lauren Russell Facebook groups. Telephone, tell a friend. They don't want to miss this production, this show, this airing tonight. My very special guest tonight is Reverend Dr. James A. Kilgore, pastor of the historic Friendship Baptist Church and the president of the Baptist Ministers Conference of New York and vicinity. Telephone and tell a friend. They don't want to miss Matters of Faith tonight in the still moments. Matters of Faith and the J. Lauren Russell Facebook groups. Don't forget to support our advertisers and our sponsors, the JLR Company and J. Lauren Russell Consulting LLC, for all of your church financial consulting needs. Check out our website, www.JLaurenRussell.consulting.com. That's www.JLaurenRussellConsulting.com. Or simply give us a call, 718-328-8096. 718-328-8096. If you want to train your trustees, if you want to develop your property, if you need a church loan, give us a call. We'll be there to help you. Matters of Faith, the book, can be purchased at my Cash App, $ Matters of Faith. The cost of the book is $22.80. That's $22.80. You can send your check or money order to the JLR Company, Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. Get the book. It will absolutely bless your life. You can also get it as an ebook. All you need to do is go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. That's www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. The book has no shipping and handling if you get it as an ebook. And also check out the Eat Okra app for all Black-owned restaurants all over the nation. That's right, Eat Okra. And finally, subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Let me add just one more thing. Get your subscription to Better Mag magazine today. A 2-year subscription is only $27.50. That's www.abettermag.com. www.abettermag.com. And now the article. In the still moments. That article can be found in my column, Matters of Faith, at the Bronx Chronicle, www.thebronxchronicle.com. Just scroll down till you find my column, Matters of Faith. You will find the article, In the Still Moments. You can also find it in the Yonkers Insider, www.theyonkersinsider.blogspot.com. That's www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. You can also find it in Better Mag magazine, www.abettermag.com, like Westchester Magazine and Pamela's Big Heart newsletter, In the Still Moments. Psalms 46, verse 10, New King James Version. Be still and know that I am God. In the still moments. My dear cousin Carolyn posted this scripture to her Facebook page with the label Carolyn's Bible Verse for 2024. It got me thinking about what happens in those still quiet moments that we spend silently with the Lord. When the noise of the world is quieted, the voice of God can be heard. Throughout the Bible, people were told to be still. Habakkuk 2:20 tells its readers that the Lord is in his holy temple and all should be silent before him. Zechariah 2:13 encourages his readers to be silent because the Lord is moved to action in his holy dwelling place. Moses was told to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, that those who were pursuing his people would be seen no more. Exodus 14:13. He was also told to tell his people to stand still so that he could hear from the Lord. Numbers 9:8. Job was told to stand still and consider the wondrous works of God. Job 37:14. And in the book of Acts, the Ethiopian eunuch was baptized in an unknown body of water when he commanded his chariots to stop. Acts 8:38 and 39. In each of these biblical accounts, it was the still of the moment that ushered in God's perfect will. When the noise of the world is quieted, the voice of God can be heard. It is the still moments that the Lord speaks the loudest, and his voice is most distinctive. Note that the same letters found on the word silent can be used to spell the word listen. An anagram is here used to teach us that the most effective listening is done in listening. To hear the Lord speak, we must silence everything, especially the conversation in our head that tells us we don't need God. To keep silent, to be still, to be in the still moment when the Lord speaks should be the goal of everyone who wants to be and have everything the Lord intended for them. We must learn to be still in that moment and know that the Lord is God. Now, here's my question tonight. Why is the voice of the Lord heard more distinctly in moments of silence? Let me ask it again. Why is the voice of the Lord heard more distinctly in moments of silence? Now, as a faith family, this gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce to some and to present to others my very special guest this evening, Reverend Dr. James A. Kilgore, who is a native New Yorker who has taken his gifts and refined them for the marketplace in the greatest city of the world. Dr. Kilgore is a proud graduate of the New York City public school system and was called to preach while serving under the leadership of Reverend Darrell L. George at Messiah Baptist Church in 1992. He received his bachelor's degree from the College of New Rochelle. Dr. Kilgore received a Master of Divinity degree from the prestigious New University in Madison, New Jersey, Yale Drew. An ardent supporter of education, he completed his Doctor of Ministry degree in 2021 at the esteemed United Theological Seminary in Dayton, Ohio. The title of the dissertation, The Absence of Black Men in the Church. He has served as the senior pastor of the historic Friendship Baptist Church for the past 22 years. Dr. Kilgore serves as catechist for the United Missionary Baptist Association, UMBA, and he is now the president of the Baptist Ministers Conference of Greater New York and Vicinity. He is a proud member of the Iota Phi Beta Fraternity Incorporated, Beta Rho Omega chapter in Long Island, New York, and he is married to Mrs. Linda A. Kilgore, and they both reside together in the Bronx. So, ladies and gentlemen, would you welcome with me tonight my friend, my brother from another mother, this great man of God, Reverend Dr. James A. Kilgore, pastor of the historic Friendship Baptist Church and the president of the Baptist Ministers Conference of Greater New York and Vicinity.
So, my brothers and my sisters, I just got a communication that my guest will not be with us tonight. So guess what? We're going to do this one by ourselves, and we're going to do it okay. Don't worry about it. We're still going to make it work because this is what we do. We are who we are. This is matters of faith, and we make it happen no matter what. So Reverend Kilgore, we're sorry that you can't make it tonight, but that don't stop no show. So thank you all for being with us tonight. Let me just stop this share so we can go ahead and talk. But I'm really glad that you're with me tonight. I thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedules to join me tonight as we talk about this article that I've written, and it's called In the Still Moments. In the Still Moments. And I guess this gives me an opportunity to really do some things I haven't done in a while. And so I'm going to look. I think the last time this happened, what I did was I said that if there was someone out there that made a significant comment about something that we were talking about, that I would bring that person on camera. And I think I'm gonna do that again. So if there's someone out there tonight that we're going to be talking to, that if you say something that is super significant or whatever, I'll send you the link and let you join me and you'll be my impromptu very special guest. How's that tonight? I think that can work. I think that can work well. So I had asked a couple other people, could they make it? And of course they were not able to make it. But we're here. You're here, I'm here, and we're still going to get this done. And so I mean, literally, I just got this message. So I'm going to be sort of swinging it, if you will. But the article was written, and I know what I wrote. And so we're going to be talking about the article in more expounded kind of ways tonight. And maybe what I'll do is I'll challenge you to engage me so that you will be the converser with me. You'll be my conversationalist, and you'll be able to bring to me your comments, and we'll talk about it from your perspective. How's that? I think that can work. So the question that I'm asking tonight, and it's a pretty good question. Why? And I'm gonna go back to my screen so I can make sure that I get it right. Why is the voice of the Lord heard more, and I use the word distinctly, heard more distinctly in moments of silence? So that's my question, right? I'm trying to, you guys know I can't type, right? So I can't type without looking at the keyboard. So that's not going to happen. So let's see. There we go. This spell, right? So here's the question. I'm gonna put it on the screen for you now. It's on your screen. Why is the voice? I'm gonna edit it now because I realized I did misspell something here. Why is the voice of the Lord? I think I got it now. Heard more distinctly in moments of silence. And I did it again, still in spell moments right. So, and then I'm going to pin it up so that everybody can see it. It won't disappear no matter what you might put up. It's going to stay there. So I'll pin that right now to the board. So my question, why is the voice of the Lord heard more distinctly in moments of silence? So that's my question. Now, what I want you to do is engage that question, talk to me, and we'll go through this with you as my special guest. So while I'm waiting for you to respond, let me tell you what's happening to me this week. I had a wonderful, wonderful week this week. I was traveling, and I had the wonderful opportunity to travel to the beautiful island of Bermuda. And I went to do some Rotary work. I'm a Rotarian. I'm the district governor. You all know that. And I had the wonderful opportunity of going there, meeting with the clubs and the people over there. And I had such a great time. I mean, the weather was absolutely gorgeous. They told me that it had been raining for the whole week before I got there. And of course, when I got there, the rain stopped, the sun shined, and it didn't rain again until last night, which was great. So I had an opportunity to be there. I got back today, had an opportunity to spend this quality time and sunshine and nice warm weather, had a chance to relax and just kind of, just do Rotary work, but I didn't have to do everything else. And I kind of let those things lie until I got back. So it was a great week, had a great time, met great people, did some great things. And the PGA Tour was actually held in Bermuda while I was there. So I did not go to see a game or to see the game, but I did drive past the golf course where they were playing at, and I saw the players playing, or, the crowds of people who were there. So I had a really, really good week. But as I thought about it, as I was there, I had some time to spend silently, just to spend some time silently. And my wonderful cousin, my beautiful cousin, my favorite cousin, she put on her Facebook that scripture that I used to write this article, "Be still and know that I am God." And I read it, and it just struck me. And I thought about how much time we need to spend, yet we don't spend silently with the Lord. And I say that because oftentimes what happens is that we are so busy doing the talking that we don't take the time to listen. And if you don't listen to what the Lord has to say, then all you're making are petitions, but you're not listening for the response that God is trying to give you. And so we've got to take that time to just relax, to do that woosah and breathe and allow the Lord to speak to us. We've got to take that time. So why is the voice of the Lord heard more distinctly in moments of silence? Okay, y'all got to talk to me now, because I'm not going to do this totally by myself tonight. I could. I mean, I can talk for 2 hours. That's just like rambling. I'd much rather bounce off of our conversation and hear what you have to say, and then I can go from there. And then one of you, at least one of you, I can bring on to be my guest. So I can bring you on screen. I'll send you the link, and you can be my very special guest. And if you have the chutzpah to do it, come on and join me. I have no problems with that. You can even let me know, I'd like to be your guest tonight, and I will bring you on, and we can talk. Right? Because Reverend Kilgore, all the presentation that I prepared, I can't use it. I can't use most of it anyway, because it's a big part of him and what I anticipated speaking with him, but that won't be possible tonight.
Got it.
So we're just gonna have to do what we have to do. So see what you want to do. Richard, silence enables a person to remove all other distractions and ponder deeply what is going on in our mind and heart. It wasn't in the great noise of the wind, earthquake, or fire that Elijah heard, but in the silence. I like that. And Richard, I know you told me tonight that you're gonna have to work until about 9 o'clock. You got like one of them, like 12-hour shifts. But if you get off and you get home and you want to jump in, I'll bring you on. It would be a pleasure to have you on. Richard is one of my long time friends. I think we've known each other since he's a year older than me. So I think I count my days as 10 or 11, something like that. So we've known each other pretty much all of our lives. And Cheryl says, in silence, there are no noise, sound, distractions to interfere with God's voice. And that's true. Have you ever done a solo? Have you ever just gone out, maybe taken a walk in a park, in the woods, on a beach, just with yourself, and just spent that time with the Lord, listening to what he's saying, listening for that still, quiet voice that doesn't come in the wind, it doesn't come in the fire, but it comes in silence of the moment. Have you ever done that? Just doing a solo. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in the noise of the world that some people can't even sleep unless there's the radio or the television playing. The noise of the world has become so overwhelming to them and so much a part of their life that silence is loud. Silence is loud. I wonder if we can just take the time to be silent. Just to be silent. Just to be silent. To allow ourselves to Bask in the silence of the moment. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. I'm looking. Good evening, Anna. Can I call y'all by name tonight? Maybe I'll do that. Cheryl, how are you? It's good to see you. Joe Hendricks, my buddy from way back to Leona Moses. Thank you for sharing with us tonight. Richard Tillies, I mentioned. Cheryl, thank you so much. Leroy, thank you so much. Jill is always with us. I thank you so much for Mel, Evelyn Mayrant, just some of my favorite peoples. Anna Berry, some of my favorite people. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. My question, my guest is not able to make it tonight. He had something that came up and he's not going to be able to be with us tonight. So it's just going to be you and me. And as I said, I'm going to look and see maybe someone's available. They can come on and be my guest. I'll give them the link and I'll let them come in and be my guest. But in the meantime, I want you to address the question that's on the screen that I want you to really look at and let's see if we can engage this in a more interactive way. Why is the voice of the Lord heard more distinctly in moments of silence? Good evening, Levy Low, my cuz. Okay. I'm going to take you up on that, Cheryl. I'm going to send you a link. I'm going to send you a link. So give me a minute, everybody. I want to bring in Miss McNear, and she's got a little history now. She's actually doing some things with us, and we'll share that in a little bit. McNear. I'm texting this to you, so you may have to get it. Let me see if I have your. I'm texting it to you now. That's the text, but I'm also going to send it to you. If I have your email address, I'll email it to you. I think I do. Okay. Do. It's going to say MOF. And it's coming from Matters of Faith email address, so you have it now. Come on and join me. This is nice. This is nice. I'm excited about this. Oh, you are on your phone. Okay, so you'll get it on the phone. That's fine. That's fine. So when you get it, just join, just jump on in. So silence. Silence is golden. So some people have said. Have you ever meditated? There's a meditation technique that I know of, and maybe I'll share it with you tonight. It's easy to do, and you can do it anywhere at any time. Anywhere and at any time. And Cheryl's with us, so I'm going to bring her on. But I'm going to show you this technique. This technique is quite simple. I want you to just sit. I want you to sit with your legs comfortably underneath you. Just lift them up so that your foot kind of falls anywhere that's comfortable. Put your hands on your legs comfortably. And then I want you not to focus on anything. Don't close your eyes, but just let your eyes just kind of fall down. And wherever they fall, that's where they are. Wherever you're looking at, you're not closing them, because closing your eyes and sleeping is doing something. I want you to try this. This is doing nothing. The thoughts that run in your head, I want them to do just that. Run right through. Just gallop right through your head. So as you sit with your hands on your lap, with your eyes just sort of focus, not focusing, but just falling wherever they are on the ground. You're listening to my voice, but that's it. And you just breathe. I don't want you to focus on your breathing, because that would be doing something. I want you to just relax. Just relax. Just breathe normally and just let it flow. Just breathe. Just breathe. And what you'll notice is that a calm will begin to come over you. Your blood flow will sort of get a different pace, get a different rhythm. It'll be like the stream is slowing down. And you just relax. If you feel yourself falling asleep, wake up. Don't fall asleep. Falling asleep is doing something. I want you to clear your mind. Whatever thoughts you may be thinking, just let them roll through your head. In other words, just watch them like you're watching a television program and a commercial comes on. And the commercial just goes from the beginning to the end, and then it just passes on. Well, let your thoughts do the same thing. As you do this, a couple of things are going to happen. Number one, you'll find out that you can't do it very long because you will find yourself falling asleep. But the more you do it, the better you'll become at it. And you do it for the first few times. If you can make it 5 minutes, that will be a lot without falling asleep. But once you get through that and you keep doing it and you keep doing it, you'll find yourself being able to do that for 10 and 15 minutes at a pop. And you'll be surprised at the health benefit that it brings to your body. You'll be absolutely surprised. It will lower your blood pressure. It will lessen your cholesterol. It will give you a chance to relax. It's a simple meditation technique that you can do anywhere, at any time. You can do it riding on a subway train. You can do it riding on a bus. You can do it, well, you better not do it while you're driving. Don't do it when you're driving. Don't do it when you're driving. But you can do it everywhere else. So, Cheryl, come on screen. Let's see you. And Bobby says, good evening, Reverend Russell. It's good to see you. Continue to let the love continue to use you to tell the people the goodness of God. Thank you, my Bobby Hood. I thank you for that. I'm going to do just that. I'm just going to continue to allow the Lord to do what he wants to do with me so that I can be a blessing to someone somewhere and someone might come to know the Lord for themselves. And good evening, Sister Cheryl A. McNear. How are you? You're muted. You got to take yourself off mute so we can hear you.
I'm well. Thank you for asking. And how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Don't I got a little tan. You know, I got a little tan. I feel a little darker today. So good. Good to see you. And thank you for taking my offer. And by the way, if there's somebody else, I'll bring you on too. I don't mind having more than one guest. I generally use one because I want to delve into the topic with them. But tonight's a special night. So we can do something different tonight. Hey, Deb, what's up? My sister's on now. So Cheryl, let me ask you a question. When you read this article, what did you think? What came to mind?
What came to mind was how distracted we all are. We're so, especially living in the city, everything is so noisy. You hardly have any moments of silence, actually. And when I thought about it, sometimes we have to create our own silence in our minds. Well, even though there are sounds around us, we have to be able to be still and still hear from God, even when there are sounds around us.
Mm.
And I was thinking, I have to, my family accuses me of, how do you say, fading out, because every once in a while I may go to La La Land because I need to have moments with God throughout the day. That's really important to me.
Mm. So what do? You do a silent prayer? You just pray and just have a little talk with God?
A little talk with God, a little talk with Jesus all day long at different times. Sometimes something happens and I need to take that moment, and I take it. And I take that moment even when I'm driving because I can't close my eyes.
Right.
But things that we see on the road that requires a quick prayer. So in those moments, I don't hear anything. I see the road, but the way things are happening, I have to, just for a moment, because sometimes when you're driving, it's almost automatic. You do see things, you are looking around, and just to make sure that we're safe. But that prayer has to go up at that time. And you know yourself, especially with these bikes on the road these days, of all varieties, you have to be very careful. They just start in and out. Some people are still crossing in the middle of the street, children running in front of the cars. Sometimes we just have to take that moment.
I appreciate you saying that, because you may not know it, but my pet peeve is, in addition to the motorized vehicles that they call scooters or whatever they call them, is those in New York City specifically, people who drive with paper plates that are non-legitimate. That bothers me to no end. I can't tell you how much that bothers me, for numbers of reasons. Number one is because most of them are illegal. They're not legitimate.
That's right.
They don't have insurance. And if
That's
they
right.
you're just out of luck. I mean, you got hit, you're hurt, you could get killed, and there's no recourse. There's no insurance. And they're running red lights, they're driving like they're maniacs, and because you can't track them. You can take pictures of them, but you can't track them because the license plates are fictitious.
Well, the good news is that the police are aware.
Yep.
And they do try to stop as many of them as they can. And especially when they park, they may come out and not find a vehicle, or it might be booted.
Yep. And I'm pushing for that every time I meet with the police. I'm saying, go boot them all. Take them all. Take them. Because it scares me that you just mentioned that kids run out in the street.
Yes.
They dart out, and then they get hit by a car that has no insurance and they're not legitimate. Then the whole situation is compounded. And it's interesting because at those times you do want to pray. You do need to pray. You see something happening, in the community, you see something, and what's the best way to respond? I mean, we can respond by going there and physically engaging, and that's not, even if you pray, that's not something that you want to say, I'm not going to do it. You still should do that. But that prayer, that moment of silence, to give God the praise, the glory, and the honor, and to ask his intervention.
Absolutely.
Always important. So important. So important. So I don't have a bio that I could read for you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us something about you that we don't know, and we really should know.
Well, let's see. I'm retired. I've retired from higher education, where I was an administrator for 39 years at 3 different institutions, Columbia University, NYU, and then a for-profit school, ASA. I've been retired now, I think, 14 years.
Okay. The years just kind of bundle themselves together now.
Exactly. So I volunteer my time in the community. I'm currently serving as vice president for the 47th Precinct Community Council. It's whether, I don't know if you know or not, I think you do, that there were 6 precincts in New York City that were cited as having the largest number of shootings in their precinct areas. And there were 2 in Brooklyn and 4 in the Bronx. And unfortunately, the 47th precinct was one of them. And I think has the highest number of shootings, if I remember correctly. So we have a lot of work to do. And that's one thing we can't be silent about. We really have to get out there and engage others in the community, both the clergy and other community members, just to be vigilant, to report these things when they see someone that may have a weapon, or there's just a lot going on when they hear and see things that are unusual. people have stopped doing that. And that's a part of why we are experiencing what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, you mentioned something that just struck me, and I'm glad that you mentioned it, because you said we can't be silent about that. There are some things that we need to be silent with, like to hear the voice of the Lord, to get
Yes.
direction. But then there are other things that we can't be silent about, that we've got to speak up, that your voice is so very important, that your voice is heard. Because other than that, I'm the president of the 42nd Precinct Community Council, and we're still doing our meetings on Zoom. And I say to the people, I said, well, when we're voting on the acceptance of the minutes, and on Zoom, it's a little difficult to. So what I say is that if there are no objections, then your silence is your consent.
Absolutely.
Now, here's the flip side of that, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's in a positive note. But if you are silent about things in your community, or about things that are negative, about things that are hurtful, about things that are sinful, and you don't say anything, your silence is your consent. So if you're
Yes.
not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So if good people do nothing, bad things always happen.
Absolutely.
The silence that we should have, the silence that we engage, is the silence that allows for us to hear from God, so that we can then lend our voices to the masses so that they can hear. In the article, I said that Moses told the people to be silent so that he could hear from God.
Yes.
So that he could hear from God.
Mhm.
So you guys be quiet so I can hear from God. And then I'll tell you what he said. So the people of God have to hear, so that they then can share what God is saying. So the people who don't know now become knowledgeable, become aware of, and then can follow the voice of the Lord, because they know that he's speaking. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. The other thing, though, is that if we could, very often people have a lot to say, they make a lot of noise, they do a lot of complaining, but never, perhaps never stopping to think about what they can do to make a difference. They're very loud, but never taking the time to be silent about it. Criticizing is not helpful. Coming up with a solution may be helpful, but just to blame others for what's going on, and not saying to themselves, well, let me see. Let me ask God, what can I do? And taking that moment of silence, just not to say anything, but to really just meditate on and pray about what can they do to make the difference in their community.
Well, James Brown said something about that. He said, like a dull knife, it just ain't cutting. Talking loud and saying nothing.
Wow.
And it's true, because people, I'm not a big marching person. I'm not the guy who, like, anything goes wrong, we're going to call a rally and we're going to have a big march. That's never been my way of doing things. My way of doing things has always been, you know what, let's get them at the table. Let's talk. Because at the table, we can make decisions.
Absolutely.
Right? If I fight with you, then what we first get is we get opposition, and then resistance, right? Even if I'm right,
Exactly.
it creates opposition, because people protect their territory, even if they're wrong. So if I can get you sit down at the table and we begin to talk about it, then our humanity, the concern that we have for what's right for me, what's right for you, we can make things happen. And so I would rather sit down at the table than march. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't march, so don't anybody get it twisted. Yeah, I've done that, and I will do that. I will reach out to the media. I will get them involved, and I will speak out about that as well. But for me, the best thing to do, instead of going that route, let's just sit down at the table and let's talk about it. Let's just have a conversation. Let's see if we can work this out.
Having having the conversation is extremely important, and very often people are so busy being competitive that it makes it difficult for them to be able to come to the table. Because
Mhm.
let's face it, they're going to have to be silent
Yep.
and listen to what's being said to them.
Right.
And hopefully they'll be listening for understanding and not just to respond.
Right. Because a lot of people listen with that only intent. What am I going to say? I'm just thinking about what I'm saying. I'm not listening to what you're saying. I'm only listening and thinking about what I'm going to say next. That's the reality. The reality, they're not thinking about it. They don't care about what you're saying. They only want to talk about what it is that they want to talk about. And that's kind of what I see is the basis for most conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
The lack
Yeah,
of people listening, actually listening to each other in marriages and relationships and you know and interpersonal relationships, which of course goes from intimacy to just casually to group interactions across the board, nation against nation, religion against religion, race against race, opinion against opinion, one block against another, one floor against another. It's because of the lack of listening, communicating, talking. Let's have a chat. Let's see if we can work it out.
absolutely.
I am so convinced that we can do much better than we've been doing if we simply do what Dr. King once said, which is on my bio, one of my favorite saying that he said. He says, "We must all learn to live together as brothers, or we'll all perish together as fools."
Absolutely. That's right.
Never has a truer word been spoken.
And I tell you, especially now, it's more important than ever. We have really, it's right in our very own communities. We need to really see what's going on and start to really talk to one another. Neighbors don't even look out for each other's children anymore.
Right.
It's just,
Right.
yeah.
They're afraid of them. They're afraid of them. And
Well,
so, you know, and so that silence, that ability to be silent is gives us an opportunity to hear also how the Lord wants us to deal with these situations. You know, they're not new to him.
mhm.
He's known about it forever. But if you never listen to his direction, then all you're doing is following your instincts. And that makes us not much better than animals without the ability to reason. We are supposed to be reasoning, rational people. We're not animals, we're people. We can think, we can actually change our minds. You know, animals are animals because that's what they are. And they do what they do as animals.
You know, it's interesting that you should say that, because what I'm finding is that we're not really understanding of what our emotions are about,
Mm.
what they're for. We're busy feeling them,
Mm.
but and sometimes actually creating a situation from, because we've had these feelings, somebody offended us, so we're going through all of these changes. But you know, this thing called emotional intelligence, there's really something to that. We don't learn about our emotions and how to handle them. The fact that we don't have to think about things the way we do sometimes, and therefore have these feelings, because for every feeling that we have, a thought precipitated it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how we feed ourselves, what we feed ourselves, thought-wise, matters. So when we talk about, just to get back to um, communing, listening to God, and then really taking the time to commit to what we're hearing. We are hearing what to do. Sometimes we hear something and we say, oh no, I don't want to do that.
Mm.
So sometimes we know within ourselves, I'm going to get back to that. When I say within ourselves, we've heard and we know what the things are to do, but we're so busy being angry about something,
Mm,
let's say, that we just refuse to do it. We are not going to go to a person and ask for forgiveness for something we've done or to forgive them for something we think they did against us.
mm,
These are the things that get us in trouble because we know we ought to do that. And by the way, the Bible, as far as my understanding is, and I heard a sermon not too long ago that said that there was no word apology in the Bible.
mm.
But I will say this, there's plenty of the word forgiveness and
Absolutely.
forgive. So
And
until,
humble yourself.
yes, yes. And until we're able to do that, here we are.
And it's interesting, you mentioned the word apologize, apologetics, right? All from the same root word. Well,
Mhm.
those words may not have been used in the Bible, but the conveyance of the thought is there. Um, you know, Forgive those who spitefully use you. If someone slaps you on one side of the cheek, turn the other cheek. If someone takes your coat or takes your cloak, you give them your gown as well. All of that is
Mhm.
about being apologetic. We apologize because we're forgiving. And so forgive others, because if you don't forgive them, then the Bible simply declares that the Lord will not forgive you.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And
in order to forgive others, I remember, give you a good for instance. I did some really deep introspection, and I realized that I had been doing a lot of damage to my siblings
Mhm.
through my behavior. And I thought about it, I looked at it, I did a workshop on self-development. It was an amazing workshop. And I realized that some of the things I used to do, I did to get at my brothers and sisters. And my sister's younger, she's on right now. And what I would do is that I would use what I had to make them look bad. And it gave me a lot of attention, which I liked. I didn't realize it, but that was my payoff, that I got the attention that I was craving. And you know what I was? I was smart. So I would go and I would get really good grades, and they would say, "Oh, you need to get good grades like your brother." And they would be mad at me, right? And I laugh at them but I was using it as a tool. I wasn't using it because I was bright and I guess I like learning, but I was using it at a point in my life as a tool to get something from it that would be detrimental to them. Now, one of my brothers, yeah, he just did all kind of crazy stuff, and he got a lot of attention because that's what he did. But I don't know if it was intentional. See, I knew after I did some introspection, I did it intentionally.
Uh-huh.
So I had a little Adolf Eichmann. You know Adolf Eichmann? Adolf Eichmann was the guy in the Nazis that killed everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I had a little bit of him in me.
Wow.
I was willing to, I sacrificed them. But then when and I'm talking about realizing this as an adult, and I said, you know what? I need to apologize to my siblings. And I did. And they said, man, what are you talking about? That's stupid. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. I said, yeah, but I did it. And now that I realize, see, if I realized that I did it and that I didn't recognize or live up to or offer an apology, then that would have been now, because I know better. I know what I did. I didn't know it before. I was unaware, but once I became aware, then I became responsible.
Yes. I have a question.
Sure.
It can be a rhetorical question. Have you forgiven yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
I have. I've forgiven myself, and I know, the kinds of things I'm capable of, which is an interesting thing all by itself. the kinds of things that you're capable of.
Absolutely.
So now
Mm,
I put myself in check.
mm.
I put myself in compromising situations because I know where I can go.
It's interesting that you should say that. I recall when I was 8 years old that I came to the conclusion something happened, and I promised myself and God that I would not wish bad things on people.
Mm.
And it's a challenge because every once in a while somebody does something that really irks me.
Mm-hmm.
But I do my very best, and I pray about it when I'm tempted to wish something to happen to somebody.
Mm.
When I was 8, I was rather tall for my age, and children tend to be a little on the cruel
Cruel.
side.
Yeah, a little cruel.
Well,
Cruel.
my it was interesting to me because my father was deceased. He died when I was 2 months old, so I
Mm.
never knew him. And even though some of the children didn't have a father living at home, their father was still alive.
Mm.
And they would tease me because my father was dead.
Mm.
And for a kid, it's like I couldn't understand why. To me, that was the meanest thing in the world because there was nothing I could do about it either.
Right.
And I remember thinking that this girl, we were going down the down staircase. In the old days, you had the up staircase and down staircase.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you need to just fall down the stairs. And no sooner than I said it, down she went, tumbling down the 14 steps. It was at that point, that was a change in my life.
Mm.
And I have resisted wishing people ill ever since.
You must have watched the Twilight Zone.
I didn't watch
Right.
it.
The little boy had this little boy in one of the episodes. Whatever he wished for would happen.
Well, I find that the Bible does say the prayer of the righteous availeth much. And who are we to say at what age
That's right.
you're righteous? Okay. So, long story short, I am careful about what I say
Mm.
out loud and even what my thoughts are regarding things and people, because you can lead bad things to happen.
Absolutely.
And, yes, God blesses us, but there's a lot of things that happen to us and we wonder why it happened. And very often we think, oh, what did I do to cause this? It may
Mm.
not have been anything. It may have been the words that somebody else spoke over you. Just saying.
Yep.
So yeah. So in terms of, I try to be still including the thoughts in my mind around certain things. It's when I
Mm.
hear from God, it's important to me that I hear, and I pray about these things when I'm troubled with something. I definitely, and I don't ask God to remove it. I just
Mm.
like to get through it. And what can I do differently? What can I do about this? What positive steps can I take?
Hmm. That's interesting. That's interesting. In order to be, what's the word I'm looking for? In order to live your life in a way that's productive on a regular basis, you have to actually be intentional about it. Because
Yes,
negativity will come anyway. You don't have to
yes.
do anything to be negative. You have to do a single thing. It's like it's in Christian circles, and the way we say it, it's sin. That's natural to humanity. It's natural. But
Mm.
in order to be righteous requires an effort. Do nothing and watch how fast you sin.
Yeah.
Don't go to church. Don't read your Bible. Don't pray. Don't be silent. Just exist. And everything else is okay. right? Because there's no, you have no filters. And
Mhm.
in order to live a life that will be approved by God, it requires filters. It requires that there are some things that you cannot do, even though you may want to do it.
Exactly. Hmm.
You gotta have some filters. If not, then anything goes. Anything goes. You can rob, steal, kill. It doesn't make any difference because they call those people sociopaths, right? When nothing really matters except what you want.
Well, unfortunately, I did I had a foster daughter, and um she didn't have any filters.
Hmm.
And pretty it was pretty scary sometimes because she was also epileptic, and she
Hmm.
eventually had lupus and then aplastic anemia, which is
Hmm.
what actually took her life in the
Oh,
end.
wow.
Um,
Sorry.
but it's sort of terrifying to live with someone who will do something, and because there is no right and wrong for them.
Hmm.
Um, and some things that they do can be quite serious and harmful. Um, yeah, well, I can't even say that a sociopath is intentional.
Right.
It's because they're not, but there are some people who are intentional about the things that they do to people. They want to harm people. They live to do that, and I know a few of them too.
Hmm. So do
So
I. So do I. I know quite a few of them actually.
it's tough. It's tough, and talking about praying for your enemies. Hello, yeah. And sometimes, being in a place, sometimes when a person says something to you, or that they're doing something against you, let's say.
Hmm. Hmm.
And sometimes silence becomes important in that too.
Yes. Yes.
You don't have to respond to everything that somebody says to you or do to you.
You
Sometimes
can't.
it's better not to say anything or do
Right.
anything.
Right. 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 Because if you respond to everything, then again, you're really functioning on your instincts. You're becoming more instinctual
Mhm.
as opposed to being a thinking, rational being. You're just being impulsive. Whatever comes to mind, you do it.
That
Whatever
goes
comes
back to what
to
you said about being an animal,
yep,
like an animal. Hmm.
yep. It's everything by instinct. Um, I heard people say, you get mad at a dog for being a dog. You know, dog. And so some people are like that as well. That
Yes,
so they so much work out of the emotion that the intellect never seems to play a part. So listen, let's do this. It's now I've got a couple of minutes, about a minute and a half, and then we're gonna be at the top of the hour. Now, normally what I do is I put up on the screen, the nice flyer that we had made up with the individual that's my guest, and they would begin to, I would talk about that, and then I would go through the through all of the advertisers and sponsors. So I'm gonna do that also. I'm gonna go through the advertisers and sponsors. I don't want you to go anywhere. You can take your camera down for a second. I'm going to do likewise. I'm going to take my camera off for a moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to recognize our sponsors and advertisers. I'm going to read the article again. And then what I'm going to do is then engage the audience and look at some of the things that they've written and bring them into our conversation as we normally do. And then we'll end the program in the last hour, same way we started it. So here's the thing. I want everybody to know, those of you who might have joined us late, my guest, who was supposed to be Reverend Dr. James A. Kilgore, had something that came up at the last minute. He couldn't come. And so what I've done is I made an offer and a challenge. I said, if someone wants to come on, I will bring them on as my guest tonight. And Sister Cheryl McNear came on, and she's my guest tonight. But I'll also put it out for you. If in fact you decide that you would like to be my guest tonight, since we do not have my guest on, let me just come back on screen for a minute. We do not have my scheduled guest on, If you want to come in and join, show, I'll bring one other person on. If that's you, then I'll bring you on. And what we're talking about is, of course, the article in the still moments, So think about it. We're going to recognize our sponsors and advertisers, and then we'll come back. If so, just let me know, and I'll send you the link. If I do not have your email and or your telephone number, you have to give that to me so that I will be able to introduce you or bring you on properly. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now, and then we will do exactly as I said, and then we will be back in just a few minutes.
Don't forget to support our advertisers and our sponsors, the JLR Company and J. Ron Russell Consulting LLC, for all of your church financial consulting needs. Check out our website, www.jlorensrussell.consulting.com. That's www.jlorensrussellconsulting.com. Or simply give us a call, 718-328-8096, 718-328-8096. If you want to train your trustees, if you want to develop your property, if you need a church loan, give us a call. We'll be there to help.
Now, by the way, before I switch the screens, you see these pictures on the screen? Those are drawings that Michael did. So there's Mariano Rivera, there's Miles Davis, Billie Holiday, Michael Jackson, Prince, Selena, Whitney Houston, Madonna. There's a couple of others. I'm not sure, but Bob Marley, Tupac Shakur, Aaron Judge, and Michael is the gentleman who is in the motorized scooter. Um, uh, he's an amazing artist. And if you make a contribution, we will send you one of these pieces of art. I'm not sure which. I have some. I don't have them all, but I have some. And if there's a preference that you have, if you ask if I have it, I'll send it to you. But $25 or more, and I will send you one of these photos. And the reason it's $25, shipping and handling, that costs. That's about $5 just to send it, plus the packaging that needs to be sent with it. But thank you, appreciate your contribution and your assistance.
And now the article, In the Still Moments. That article can be found in my column.
God can be heard. Throughout the Bible, people were told to be still. Habakkuk 2:20 tells its readers that the Lord is in his holy temple and all should be silent before him. Zechariah 2:13 encourages his readers to be silent because the Lord is moved to action in his holy dwelling place. Moses was told to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, that those who were pursuing his people would be seen no more. Exodus 14:13. He was also told to tell his people to stand still so that he could hear from the Lord. Numbers 9:8. Job was told to stand still and consider the wondrous works of God. Job 34:14. And the book of Acts, an Ethiopian eunuch was baptized in an unknown body of water when he commanded his chariots to stop. Acts 8:38 and 39. In each of these biblical accounts, it was the still of the moment that ushered in God's perfect will. When the noise of the world is quieted, the voice of God can be heard. It is the still moments that the Lord speaks the loudest, and his voice is most distinctive. Note that the same letters found in the word silent can be used to spell the word listen. An anagram here used to teach us that the most effective listening is done in silence. To clearly hear the Lord speak, we must silence everything, especially the conversation in our head that tells us we don't need God. To keep silent, to stand still, to be in the still of the moment when the Lord speaks should be the goal of everyone who wants to be and have everything the Lord intended for them. We must learn to be still in that moment and know that the Lord is God. Be blessed. So here's my question for the final time tonight. Why is the voice of the Lord heard more distinctly in moments of silence? Let me do that one more time. Why is the voice of the Lord heard more distinctly in moments of silence? So here's the deal. Tonight, we've got a special guest. She has no bio that I want to read. She is a guest of mine tonight. She jumped in where she could fit in. My guest couldn't make it at the last moment, and Cheryl McNear has decided that she was going to be my guest tonight. She put her name in the pot, and I pulled it out, and she is my guest tonight. And so, Matters of Faith family, would you do me a favor and kindly welcome with me again this evening this wonderful lady who has been such a joy to talk to. She's been a joy to be a friend, and we bumped into each other just a few weeks ago, and the relationship is just getting better. She's participating in the chaplaincy that we run. She's with us every Monday night that she can be, and I'm just so grateful that she's here tonight. My brothers and my sisters, would you welcome with me again for the second half of Matters of Faith, Sister Cheryl A. McNear. Done. Welcome. You're back.
Thank you.
And thank you for telling me. I'm sorry, guys. Every now and then I forget stuff. Like I forgot to put the sound on. so I'm waxing eloquently and all that kind of stuff. Y'all ain't hear a thing. And then that's it. So, but that's okay because you know what it is. But listen, do support. Please support, especially the J. Lauren R. Consulting, J. Lauren R. Consulting LLC. If you need to train your trustees, if you need evangelism training, if you need a church loan, if you need to do anything around the church in terms of your church growth and development, just reach out and give us a call. We love to do that. That's what we do. That's what the Lord has called me to do, and I think I'm good at it, and I can help you in any way I can. And you should just give us a call and see for yourself. So, Sister McNear, thank you so much for being here. So what I'm going to do is I want to ask you just kind of share, because I know that you were thinking about some things while we were on break. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to read some of the things that have been shared with us, and we're going to bring them into our conversation as well.
What I was thinking about was what silence really means. You know, we know that silence is the absence of sound, pretty much. But again, I was thinking about how important it is to be able to create that space within yourself
Mm,
and to be able to be silent, even in the midst of chaotic and noise. You have to be able to find that place within yourself, that special place within your temple. At times, and again, living in the city especially, is difficult with sirens going on, horns honking, even in the middle of the night when you would think that it would be quiet, sometimes it isn't.
mm-hmm,
So that's what I was thinking about. I was thining about how silence, we need to be able to create it, even
mm-hmm,
around us isn't silent. Hearing from God is I was remembering when I was working, my my vice president would say to me, "Why is it that when I ask you a question, when I ask you to think about something that you want to execute, you always seem to be listening? Who are
mm,
you listening to?" And I said, "Well, I'm listening for an answer from God." And I was just like that. And
mm,
she was annoyed until I guess one of our coworkers passed. He was on the subway and he just keeled over. He died on the
mm,
subway. And she came to me and she said, she said, "Remember when I used to say to you, what, who are you listening to?" She said, "I understand now. I understand." And she was Catholic and she participated in his funeral ceremony. And from
mm,
then on, she started to go back to church. And I thought that was really important. I've been listening to God all my life.
mm.
I didn't say I was perfect. I didn't say I did everything right. Didn't say that. But I've been listening and listening for his voice all my life.
You
That's
know, it's
it.
interesting. I was, as you were speaking, I was thinking about how people, particularly, you know, people who are in supervisory, or you might even call them superior roles, you know, how oftentimes there's not that relationship with the Lord.
Yes.
Um, I was in Barbados, I mean Bermuda, as I said, and I went to church yesterday, and one of the associate ministers preached, and she did a pretty good job. But she talked about, which I found interesting, she talked about her career and how she literally sought the Lord, and she got a new job. She's an attorney,
Yeah.
and she negotiated for a specific amount. And when she came back to the table, they gave her $10,000 more than that.
Mm.
And she said, "I didn't ask for this." They said, "Yeah, but we're going to give it to you. We think you're worth it." And so I thought about that. And of course, she's in a supervisory capacity. She leads a few other lawyers and so forth. But it was interesting because she had um, relied on the Lord to do the directing.
Absolutely.
Um, and then I thought about a situation that I was in once. I was interviewed for a position, and they offered me less than I thought, less than I wanted. And so I said, "Well, I'll think about it." And I prayed about it. I said, "Well, Lord, what do you want me to do?" He said, "What did you ask for?" I said, "Well, I said, if it's for me, open the door and let it be. And if not, close it tight so I don't waste your time." He said, "Well, duh." So I called the person back. I said, I'll do it." And he said to me, he said, "I'm glad you called back because our director has said if he calls back, tell him that we can't give him any more. We can, this is the top level. This is most we can pay him. However,
Mhm.
we're expecting a raise in January that will take him over what he was asking for."
Okay.
And it did. So if I had listened to me, if I had listened to that voice inside of my own head instead of listening to the voice of the Lord, because the Lord said, this is where I want you to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll take care of you. You know, when the Lord called me to ministry, he said something interesting to me. He said, I will take care of all of your needs according to my riches and glory if you simply obey. And I said, what does that mean, Lord? He says, I'll let you know when you get there. So one of the first things that he did was I was in financial services. That's what I did. I did personal financial services. I sold insurance. I had my own agency. You know, I had a team of people and we were doing well. And I hired a bunch of Christians and all that kind of stuff. It's great, good.
Mm-hmm.
But he would not let me be as successful in that area as I thought I could be. He wouldn't let it happen. And I know it was him. You know, I would do all of these things. I would be right on the, like look like I'm just going to break right through. And I was just going to become a multimillionaire because it was going to work. Something would happen, just veer off to the side. Just veer off to the side. And I miss it. I said, man, you know, well, what's up? And I'm talking to him, right? He says, well, I'll take care of you. So then one day he said, time to close your shop. I said, what am I going to do? I said, close the shop. I said, I've been doing this for a number of years now. I don't even have my college degree. He said, that's okay. We'll get that too.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, come on now. And I got a letter came across my desk that day. Someone was looking for a marketing manager. Guy knew. And I was like, I have all the qualifications that they're asking for, except that I don't have a degree. So I called him. He said, yeah, but you have your own business. I said, yeah, I got it, but I got to make some changes. So they hired me. And he fired me a year and a half later. First time I ever been fired. Just fired me. No bad evaluations, no nothing. Just time to go. And I knew it because I could feel it in my gut, which is where the Lord speaks to me a lot. And so went home and I said, well, Lord, you know, what am I supposed to do now? I ain't got no job. Evelyn's out of town. My wife is Evelyn. She's out of town. She comes back. I tell them that I lost my job, right? He said, go back to school. I said, Lord, I don't have a job. He said, okay, go back to school. And I went back to school. I went to NYU. Because I felt, I said, you know, I need to go somewhere. I need to go, you know, prestigious school, I guess. But more than that, I want to take a good writing course. Because if I'm going to go back to school, I have to be able to write. That's priority number one, because you got to write. So I went to NYU. I took the entrance exam and I passed it. It's like, wow, okay. I felt pretty good about that. Went there and took this writing class. And the first paper I wrote, the professor says, who's J. Lauren Russell? I said, that would be me. She said, can I speak to you outside for a second? I said, sure. So I went outside with her. She says, you don't belong in this class. Like, what? Like, what do you mean I don't belong? I said, wait a minute now. I said, you know, I'm not good enough to be. She said, no, that's not what I mean at all. She says, your writing skills are way above this class. But this is a basic writing course. You are a really good writer. I said, really? She says, you need to take like a research writing course or something like that. You know, but you could stay because you know, I mean, if you want to stay because your participation, you know, with the other students is amazing. So I said, well, no, I think I'll take your advice and I'll take that research writing course. But thank you. So I went back to school and got skipped. I felt good about that. I said, it skipped me. So the Lord was doing something. He was saying, no, I told you I'd take care. I told you that. And when they told me what it cost for that one course, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I don't have that kind of money at the registrar's office. I said, I don't have that. I don't have that money. You know, I just lost my job. I closed my business. I don't have that kind of money. She said, well, if you don't, you know, you can go to class. If you don't have it at the end of the semester, you just won't get credit for it. I said, oh, okay, I'll do that. So I did it. Did the class. Got an A plus. Got an A. Was it A plus? And I think I got an A or A plus in the class. I'm not sure, but it was A something. And
Mhm.
so I was like, where am I going to get this $2,700 at? Well, I told you I was a financial service person, right? I did that. So I had gone to one of my clients and I did some asset repositioning.
Huh.
And I got the commission check for doing that. You know how much it was?
$2,700.
No, 2,800. I got to keep $100. I felt great about that. I said, wow, but I said, I can't. I mean, NYU is nice, but come on now, I can't do
Very
NYU. And I
expensive.
wound up going to Audrey Cohen College.
Oh, sure.
I thought that was the most amazing curriculum I've ever seen in my life because I had been out of school. I mean, I went to college after high school, and I hadn't been in school, formally in years. So I graduated literally. Y'all might like this. Y'all might like this because this is good for all of you. I literally graduated 25 years after I graduated high school. 25 years.
I understand that.
Yep. And my
Too.
GPA when I graduated was 3.98.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lord said, I'll take care of you. So he did that. Then I went on and got my master's of divinity and I got the honorary doctorate. But it's interesting because each one of those phases was a conversation that I had with the Lord, who said to me, it's time to go. It's time to do this. It's time to do. I don't do anything unless the Lord tells me to do. Nothing. I
There
won't
you
do it. I'm not doing it.
are.
Nope. I'll wait. Just give me a few minutes. But I gotta talk. I have to talk to the Lord about that, and I have to take those moments of silence because that's when He speaks to me. And sometimes He speaks to me in my gut. Whenever it's time to move, it's a gut feeling. I know
Yes.
it. Like,
Yes.
oh, okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it. So okay, it's time to leave. And so with that, I don't I don't feel like, I've been betrayed because sometimes, you can go through a situation and you can feel like the Lord betrayed you
Mm-hmm.
because you said, but you told me to do this and I did this and it didn't work. And now I'm without work, I'm without this, I'm without that.
Oh, oh,
Feel
mm-hmm.
like you were betrayed. And so some people actually feel that way and they stop giving God glory. I've not done that. I've been able to understand that this was for a season
Yes.
or a reason, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a lifetime. It was not for a lifetime. And I think we have to recognize that whatever situations we're in is in one of those three categories: a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
It's interesting that you said that you felt betrayed.
Oh, I didn't. I said I could have, but I didn't.
Yeah, okay. I beg your pardon. I remember I was really young. Well, really young. That's compared to today. Yes. I was a teenager and I felt that maybe there was something I just didn't understand. Uh, because even just growing up just as a child, nobody had to tell me to love God. That was just a part of who I was, and I can't even explain that how that But I remember really thinking that all the time that I had spent believing God, believing in God, all the conversations, all of the prayers and everything, and all of a sudden I felt abandoned. Well, I was too young to understand a few things. And also at that point in my life, the pastors, the preachers, they were talking about fire and brimstone and
Mm,
hell and damnation. And they just forgot about the redemption part, about the forgiveness part. So that threw me off for a few years. And then I remember one day I was looking at a light, and I was like, I forgot something. And I kept saying, I forgot something, and I couldn't think of what it was. And then finally, it was, I forgot my faith.
Hmm.
And that turned things around for me. And that was, I guess, that was about 10 years. 10 years. It was like 10 years being in the wilderness for me.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I never want to live that again, ever,
Hmm.
ever. And I try when I hear young people, especially, feel that they can't believe, they don't believe it. Nothing they say is going to change their mind. I really try to work with them. Don't force it. Don't force the issue, but gentle conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
that's a tough time, and a lot of choices that are being made there impact the rest of their lives.
Right. No doubt about it. I mean,
Mhm.
the forever, forever, forever.
You
Um,
know, it's funny. It's just when I life changed again for me when I turned 70. All of a sudden, life was like, what?
mm,
You mean I used to think this? Oh, that's not true.
yeah,
Just whole doors of understanding opened.
yeah, yeah.
You um,
It's something somewhere today. It said, I don't know. I think I was on the plane. I saw something that says, I apologize to everyone 50 and over that I said was old when I was 18. So, it's amazing. I think for me, perspective became early. I gained perspective early in life
mhm.
because my parents died. So I had no back door.
I see.
I read somewhere where it says, if you keep the back door, you'll always use it. I had no back door. Um, I remember Dr. Craig Polite came to my office and I was new in insurance sales, and he gave a talk, and he became one of my good friends. He became my psychologist, in fact. But he said something that stuck with me, and it motivated me to spend a lot of money to see him as my psychologist. He
Mhm.
said, he said, you have to learn how to get out of your own way. And I was like, wow, that's profound.
Mhm.
So I said to him, how much does it cost to see you? He said, $75 an hour or a session. I said, really? That was in, that was in 1982.
Mhm.
I was like,
Mhm.
wow. But I thought about it. It's like, you know what? I'm worth it. I'm worth it. I need this. I need this help. And
Yes.
so I paid him. And I made more money that year than I ever made in my life. Ever. I was determined. But that's part of what I'm saying, that, when you listen, and listening is interesting, because you may spend some time in prayer, meditation, asking God for something. And then you think he's going to give you that answer immediately, right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
That may not be the case at all. You may be
Absolutely.
sitting in a classroom like I was in a session. I just started in the insurance industry, and I'm sitting there listening to not a preacher, but a secular psychologist.
Mm.
And he says something that sparks me. And I knew, and I was not a person, I was not in the church, I was not in the Lord. I knew who he was. I met him many, many years ago, because I said my parents died, so I couldn't mess up because I had no back door. In other words, if I didn't go forward and if I didn't make it through, I was going to die right there because there was no
Understood.
safety net underneath me. I was on a tightrope and there was no safety net. If I fell, I was going to hit the ground.
Mhm.
So I heard this voice and I knew it was the Lord talking to me. And so I said yes to $75 a session at a time when people, I knew doctors, the director of Manhattan State Hospital didn't make, his salary was $46,000 a year in 1982.
Mhm.
$75 a session. Once that was almost a week's pay.
Mhm.
That's I gotta do it. I've got to do it. And so when you take that moment of silence and you listen, you have to carry that over and listen for the answer as well. It may not come the way you expect it. It may not come from who you expect it.
Absolutely.
But
Mhm.
if you're not receptive, you can miss it. You got to be receptive to hear the voice of God. So, that's why I say, solos. I started the session earlier talking about taking solos, taking a walk through a park in the woods or whatever by yourself and just listening. And you may get your answer listening to the wind as it blows through the leaves. I remember being in Georgia and they had a little path down there that I used to like running, and I would run that path, and standing in the middle of the road one day was a doe. I ain't seen no does in New York, not where I live at. I live in the hood. We ain't got no deer around here.
No.
And there it was standing right in front of me, right in front of me. And I looked, I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He looked at me, I looked at him, and he just bounced on off. And I bounced on in. I just kept running. But that was amazing. So, but just to see that had such a calming effect on me, because
Mhm.
I was like, wow, I'm out here literally running with deer.
Mm.
So a kid who for all those years, worked all those years, didn't even have a college degree. Now I got a master's degree and I'm down here in Georgia that I'm not paying anything for the hotel. I'm not paying anything for my food. I'm not paying anything for the car that I'm driving. And I'm seeing deer on this, like on the pathway, running down a park in a community that I don't live in. But I have it. I'm using it as if it's mine. So the Lord will provide and has provided for all of my needs according to his riches and glory. And he
Yeah.
said, and you don't have to manage it. I'll take care of it. You don't have to own all of these things, because if you own it now, you got to manage it. You got to take care of it. I'll take care of it. So I saw that. I said, Lord, you pretty smart guy. I think I'll stick around you a while. So let me tell you what Daryl said. Daryl said, my answer to the question today comes from my past relationships with God. Growing up in the boogie down was like
Mm.
growing up in a whirlpool of pleasures and delights. For a
Mm.
kid to be exposed to see so much pleasure at my fingertips, available on a whim, was very satisfying on a me level,
Mm.
a level I was not attempting to satisfy God. It wasn't until I left New York and had some additional experiences that slowed me down and shifted my attention from myself that I began to even want to listen to God. And then he began to work with me on the teaching, or work on me, teaching me how to listen to him, to desire his voice and his presence, and to understand that his voice exists already. Let me make sure I get it back. Went too far. In many places and speaks to us in many ways. And
Mhm.
that I can find his voice whenever I repent, turn away from a temptation and seek it. So he's saying that the voice of the Lord is always available. His presence is always there. And all I have to do is repent from whatever temptations might pull at me, and I'll seek him for myself, and I'll find him when I seek for him with all of my heart, soul, and spirit. If I got that wrong, Darryl, you tell me, but I think I got it on point. And then Erica says, wow, that was powerful what you just said. I did my job for 20 years with no success in my soul. I retired and decided to volunteer in my church's preschool, and I decided to go back to school to become a preschool teacher. This is what the Lord has led me to. I'm extremely happy and fulfilled in what I am doing as a volunteer, opposed to what I did for a living.
Amen.
Or for a career. Yeah. Yep. That's good. Let's see if there's anything else I see here. Okay. Darryl said I got it. So he said I got it. Okay. Darryl also, I guess he's commenting on my going back to school. He says never too late. And it is never, it's never too late. You know, just if you listen to the Lord, if you listen to him, you know, it's as long as you have breath in your body, it's never too late. For anything. For anything. I mean, you said 70 was like a turning point for you.
Well, one of the few, but that was the one that the anxiety left. You know, I don't know. I don't know how to even describe it. All of a sudden I was free.
Gotcha.
And you know, I'm grateful. I'm just grateful. I take my time now. It's not that I'm without issues to deal with or problems, so to speak, but it's just different. It's just very, very different. And I'm grateful to be alive. You know, my mother passed when she was 52. And she's been gone a very long time, because now she would be what? She would be 104. So she's been gone a minute.
Yeah, 52 years.
Yeah.
Gone as long as she was here.
I beg your pardon?
She's been gone as long as she was here. She would be you said 104.
That's right. That's right.
52.
That's right.
So it's 1,000. My mother died at 38.
I just can't imagine.
So she would be she would be just about 90 right now, this year. So she's been dead longer than she's been alive. Well, and my dad died at 49.
Wow.
So they both died young.
Yes, my dad was 29 when he died. Yeah. So, you know, it's interesting because my mother, she chose not to remarry. She chose not to have anybody in the home, and you know what I mean.
Right.
And I appreciate that. By the same token, however, since she chose not to remarry, that meant that I never saw up front and personal a marriage or an interaction between a man and a woman, and that's also a very important part of life, you know.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So, but
well, I thank God for my parents. That they obviously they passed away early in my life, but I saw, in relationship to what you just said, I saw what it meant for a man and a woman to love each other in a family setting.
Yes.
And how devastating it was when my mom died. And then my dad said something to us that really just kind of blew me away. And it made me realize what a special person he was. He said, when my sister asked, what's going to happen to us? And my dad said, we're family. we stick together.
There you have it.
And I mean, I remember my chest feeling like, like, wow, I felt so good behind that.
Hmm.
5 years later, he died.
Wow.
He maintained that commitment. And today, my siblings and I are very close. I mean, extremely. In fact, we're close, so close now that if something happens to either one of us, to any of us, we kind of instinctively know it because we're that connected, and we're all older. My eldest brother passed away at 42, but we're all older than my parents,
Hmm.
all of us,
Hmm.
the three of us, and we're going to be considerably older. In fact, with all of our um, uncles and aunts on both sides deceased, we are the next generation. We are it.
Likewise.
Mm.
Mhm.
And I'm proud of it. I like it.
Absolutely.
I like it. My two nephews called, my eldest brother's sons called me over the weekend, and we're talking and they're talking and we're chatting and stuff like that. I said, y'all know I ain't in the States, right? Y'all know I'm in Bermuda. Y'all taking up my time. So, but it was really nice just to get I mean, they're grown, these guys are grown. I mean, they're grown, they have their careers, they're doing their thing, but they're calling their uncle, which I think is really good. I think it's really good when we maintain those relationships and those connections, because those are the kinds of connections that we forged with my parents leading the way, showing us what it means to be family and how
You,
to and how to
you're,
listen for the
you're
voice.
so fortunate and blessed to have siblings. I
Yeah,
don't have any. I don't
you have no
have any.
siblings. Wow, wow.
So it's been interesting. It's all like I do have cousins though, with whom I'm very close. In fact, one on either side of the family were like brothers to me. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I lost one of them on my father's side last year. Um,
But you didn't lose him. You know where he is.
well, yes, but you know what I mean in
Yeah,
terms of my being able to
right.
talk with him and you know, but then I this is not a conversation that we have today about loss and getting through and living without remaining here without those we've loved in
But
our life.
what's interesting, right? I witnessed my mom die, I witnessed my dad die, my brother. I was there when all of them passed away.
Ah,
And as I was writing this article, I realized something. Even at death, silence, peace
mm,
is still the call. I don't care, and I'm gonna preempt myself for my closing, but I don't care if it was a violent death. The moment that you transition from the land of the living to the land of eternity, that sense of peace comes. When you take your last breath, that peace just silent,
mm,
silent. It's always silent. It's God speaks even at that moment.
mhm.
And for those who don't know him, they get a chance to, in that last moment of silence, say, forgive me, Lord, I have sinned. They could, not say they did, but they could, because that last breath, everybody, every single person has to take their last breath.
Oh, well, um, there is such a thing as not having that opportunity. Yeah,
No,
you take the last breath, but it may not be a conscious last breath, is what I'm trying to say.
but see, the interesting thing is that we don't know what happens when we take that last breath
Mm, that's
because we
true.
haven't been there. Ain't nobody come back and tell us either.
Mhm.
When you take that last breath, and I was just thinking about this, I've seen people take their last breath. They talk about that gargle, right? And the last breath is this a gargle. It's like the death rattle, they call it.
Yes.
But once that breath leaves, you can almost feel like the silence just taking over.
Mhm.
Everyone, again, I don't, even if it's traumatic, if it's sudden,
Mm.
because you breathe, you have to take your last breath because you breathe. Only problem is you just don't know when it's going to happen. None of us does. None of us. Even people on death row, if they're executed, they don't know when their last breath is going to come. It can come instantaneously, because I would believe that some people have heart attacks before the and die from anxiety before the drugs do their job.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
That last breath, because the Lord speaks loudest in silence. That still small voice speaks, and if you're on that point of transition, the Lord still speaks. The Bible says He's always looking for an opportunity to be gracious to us.
Yes.
And that He does that and will do that until the very end. And because remember, the Bible says that He desires that no one perish, but all have everlasting life. And if that statement is true, and I believe it's true, then that last breath gives you an opportunity to receive Him. And the story in the Bible about the workers, that there was a vineyard owner, and he went out and he hired these hirelings at 6 a.m. He went out again at 9 p.m. He went out again at 12 p.m. He went out again at 3 p.m. And then he went again the last time at like 5 o'clock. And the day was over at 6. And he said to all of them, I'll pay you what's right. And he said, call the last ones in first. And the last ones came in and he gave them a full day's wage. So the ones who came in at 6 a.m., they just knew they were going to get more money. They just knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And they got the same thing. And they got angry. He said, but why are you angry? Did I do you an injustice? Didn't I give you what I promised you? Well, this is mine. If I decide to give a full day's wage to the person who worked an hour, what does that do with you? So that last breath, you may be at that ninth hour, and you can make it in, right? You can make it in. Now, the worst part though is that you missed a lifetime or many years of serving God while you're in the land of the dying. You missed it. You have no time, so you missed it. So I'm glad that I received Him early in life, so that I could get the pleasure of working for Him.
Yes.
I'm excited about that. Hey, listen, it's now 9:49, matter of fact, 9:50. So let me give you 5 minutes or so just to say whatever you need to say, whatever time you need to take, just to kind of close out your thoughts. And I want to thank you, really thank you for just stepping in and being our guest tonight. It has been a pleasure. I mean, an absolute pleasure just to chat with you and to let you chat with the Matters of Faith family. So,
Reverend Dr. Russell, yesterday, let's say, I wouldn't have done it, to tell you the truth, but I'm grateful. And thank you for calling upon me and for my responding. I know that life is very different now, and hearing from God today is different. I think when I saw you a few weeks ago, I think I talked about now being on purpose. And it was no accident that I happened to come to that meeting at that time as late as I was because I wasn't going to come,
Mm,
you know, but things are different now. And
mm,
however I am and the way I am and who I am to this point, it's time.
mm,
And I am listening to God in the stillness. You know, every morning I wake at a certain hour, about between 2 and 3 o'clock, and that's the hour of prayer.
mm.
I know.
That hasn't changed in my whole adult life anyway.
Mm,
And sometimes I don't, but I always listen.
mm,
Um, and I'm just grateful for this opportunity tonight. I'm grateful to think about and talk with you about um, being still and finding that stillness.
mm,
Even if it doesn't exist, we can create it. God has given us that ability to do that.
mm.
So, to the Matters of Faith family, thank you for allowing me to share with you this evening. Um, as I am, I appreciate the opportunity. And I look forward to perhaps sometime in the future joining you again for a moment such as this.
Oh yeah, we can do that. We'll do that.
So thank you again. Thank you. And
You are
just,
more than welcome.
I just hope
But
that everybody knows that they can find that stillness anytime they need it. Sometimes it takes practice to be able to do it,
mm,
but it's so worth it.
mm. You took the picture down. I mean your live photo. You didn't have to.
I can put me back up.
Yeah, put you back up. Put you back up. Let me just go ahead and say
My
that.
first time, this is my first time using the phone. I've
Really?
never tried it. Yeah, so
Works
it's
perfectly well.
thank you. My
Sounds good.
daughter was pointing to me a little, when we first started. She says, "No, point that." She was touching things in it, so I got the message.
But she
Yeah,
did good. She helped you out
yeah,
greatly. So I just want to thank you. So I really do. And I appreciate the things that you said. And I think, yeah, I don't think that was by chance that we got there. And we met that day and you recognized me. That was nice. I didn't, I must admit that I didn't recognize you, but once you said who you were, I knew exactly who you were. So I think that was by design, by God's divine design.
yeah, absolutely.
So what happens in those still quiet moments that we spend silently with the Lord? When the noise of the world is quieted, the voice of God can be heard.
Mhm.
If you think about the times in your life when the Lord spoke the loudest, it probably wasn't when things were most chaotic, but when things were the quietest. Even the traumatic experience of death happens quiet. The last breath, even if it is a violent occurrence,
Mhm.
takes place in silence. I want to take a moment of silence to remember my dear friend who we prayed for. And I said to fast and pray a couple of weeks ago, Reverend Dr. Ralph Boyce, pastor of the Bethel Baptist Church, who's been a repeat guest on this show. He and his wife, he has become a child of eternity. The Lord called him home. So be still and know that I am God. When the noise of the world is quieted, the voice of God can be heard. It is the still moments that the Lord speaks the loudest and his voice is most distinctive. We must strive to spend more time, more quiet time with the Lord every day. Meditate, walk, read. I have walked life's way with an easy tread, had followed where comforts and pleasures led, until one day in a quiet place, I met the master face to face. With station and rank and wealth for my goal, much thought for my body, but none for my soul, I had entered to win in life's mad race when I met the master face to face. I had built my castles and built them high, with their domes had pierced the blue of the sky. I had sworn to rule with an iron mace when I met the master face to face. I met him and knew as he and blushed to see that his eyes full of sorrow were focused on me. And I faltered and fell at his feet that day while my castles melted and vanished away, melted and vanished, and in their place naught else did I see but the master's face. And I cried aloud, "Oh, make me meek to follow the steps of thy wounded feet." My thought is now for the souls of men. I have lost my life to find it again. Ere since one day in a quiet place, I met the master face to face. We must learn to be still in that moment and know that the Lord is good. It's been my pleasure to have Cheryl A. McNear, as my guest tonight. And she stepped in and just as if she was scheduled to be here all the while. But you know, God makes no mistakes. As you said, the meeting that we had a few weeks ago that reconnected us, and then tonight you doing this, not by accident, but by design. You said you wouldn't have done it before, but now you did it because God is moving things, obstacles out your way, and you're hearing that still quiet voice as he speaks. Thank you, my sister, for your presence here tonight and for your transparency, because you've basically been open book for us tonight. You've stimulated our imagination, and we're looking forward to longer and quieter moments with the Lord. So you're going to check your schedule, because I'm going to get you back. Maybe we'll do some sort of a panel discussion and have a good conversation with some other people. Is that all right? Okay, I'm going to take your nodding because you put yourself on mute. I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yes, thank you.
Very good, very good. Now, don't forget our sponsors and advertisers, please. The JLR Company, J. Law R Consulting, LLC, for all your church financial needs. Call 718-328-8096, 718-328-8096. Visit our website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. It's not about the castle. It's about the kingdom. In Matters of Faith, the book, you know, I've been talking about it. I talk about it all the time. This is the physical book. You can get it as a physical book. I can send it to you. Just go to my Cash App and send it's $ Matters of Faith. The book is $23.92. Shipping and handling always goes up. Shipping and handling is $3.92. The book is $20. Or get it as an ebook and avoid all of those expenses and just go to www.smashwords.com/books with an S /view/993177. That's www.smashwords.com/books/view/993-177. Better Mag Magazine, www.abettermag.com. You know, you should subscribe to this magazine. For a 2-year subscription is $27.50. They publish quarterly, so my article does appear in their magazine, but I give them the choice of choosing whichever one they want to publish in their quarterly publication. But it is there, and please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Telephone, text, email, message, any way you do it, but tell a friend to join us regularly on Monday nights for Matters of Faith radio show. We're always live on Matters of Faith and the J. Law and Russell Facebook groups. And from time to time, we may make you the superstar. When this show is over, we're going to drop this episode on our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. That's why I keep telling you, subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Now listen to this. Beginning in January, the Lord laid this on my heart. I think it was the week before last. January 2024, we will switch from Facebook Live to YouTube. So you'll be able to find it on the YouTube channel, Matters of Faith YouTube channel. That's why I ask you every week to subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. You can watch YouTube lying in your bed. All of the episodes are there. You can watch them. They're there. But subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Now, the Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Now, if no one has told you this today, then I want you to know that I love you and there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. So get used to it. Okay? God bless you. Good night. You know that we love you. Be well, and we'll see you next week at the same time. And I promise you, I'll be a little more rested because I am a little weary tonight. But thank you so much, so very much, Cheryl, for stepping in and stepping up. You have made this night spectacular. God bless you. Love you all, and good night.